Hello, everyone. This is your host, Susan Rosen. And today I have a very interesting guest. And I think she's going to give us a lot of information for a lot of us, both personally and for our people we love, and parents and siblings, and so on and so forth. Anyways, her name is Linda Fodrini-Johnson. Fodrini-Johnson, sorry.
Right.
And she's going to talk to us about elder care and her lovely book that she has as well. And so, Linda, take it away. Tell us about what you've been doing and how you ended up
Here,
here doing what you're doing.
the gift of
And
a lifetime. Yeah.
yeah, and you know, and give us all the good information
Okay.
that you have and that we need.
Well, I have been involved in the field of elder care for 40 years. I can't believe that because I'm just a day or two over 40 myself.
Of course.
But anyway, I started my career kind of late in my life, had children first, then went back to school and started to be a geriatric care manager. And at that same time as doing that social work part, I got my license as a family therapist. And then, because I have creative ideas, I left the nonprofits and started my own business and called it Elder Care Services, kind of a boring name now that I look back on that. But at the time, it worked 40 years ago.
Yes.
I sold my business about 5 years ago. And since then, I have been doing a little bit of consulting, a little bit of counseling, finished writing the book. Here it is. Well,
Oh, I can't see it. There, your thing is, there you go. Okay, now I can't see you. That's okay.
Yeah,
Let me see.
it's the Empowered Caregiver. You can get it on Amazon. Anyway, I finally put all my wisdom in that book that I was told to do for 10 years. And I finally, after retirement and selling my business, I had time to do that. But I continued doing support groups. And what I have found over the years post owning a business with 200 employees is to do support groups and do some work myself instead of having employees do that work, because I love the work that we did as geriatric care managers. Now, those professionals call themselves aging life care professionals, and the organization is aginglifecare.org. If somebody needs to find somebody that did what I did and somewhat do now.
Yeah.
But doing consultations with older adults, lots of couples, and helping them write roadmaps for themselves when they're both able to do that. But one of the things that has been so prominent in the people I'm working with and in the field itself is mild cognitive impairment, Susan. And what that maybe some of your audience knows MCI. We used to think that was a telecommunication company.
Right.
Now it's mild cognitive impairment. And I realize that most of us over the age of 65 have problems with our memory from time to time, and we go, oh my God, am I going down the Alzheimer track? And that's exactly what happens. And I was so concerned with couples that when one of them has this diagnosis, the diagnosis becomes their life, and there's not much joy and happiness because they're worried about, am I going to get, or is my husband or my wife, my mom, my dad, whoever has this diagnosis, are they going to slip down the Alzheimer's slide? And to educate our public today, is about 50% of the people that get that diagnosis do develop a progressive dementia like Alzheimer's disease. And that's the most prominent of all the dementias, is Alzheimer's disease. So there's new studies, probably in the last 5 to 10 years, on brain health and things to prevent our healthy brains going down that slope. Well, it's even more important when you have a diagnosis of MCI to say, what can I do to keep my brain healthy? So that's one thing I'm going to talk about
Good.
with your audience
Yes,
today.
please.
And the other thing is some practical things that need to happen that aren't totally related to a healthy brain.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with the healthy brain stuff first. And this is good information. I can't go into detail because we don't have enough time, but maybe I could come back again sometime and we could talk just about healthy brains.
Yes, absolutely.
But these are the most important things: a diet, and it's the Mediterranean diet, which is the best diet to start. And in that diet, healthy fats, that's the thing that a lot of people aren't as aware of. The importance, this is important for our brain health. And that means avocados, olive oil, walnuts, that we have a little bit of those healthy fats in every meal we have, our 3 meals.
Oh, okay.
Maybe adding walnuts to your breakfast cereal, olive oil to a salad or vegetables, avocados again to salads, that you have done that. Okay, that's kind of easy, and everybody can look up the Mediterranean diet. It's the heart healthy diet too. So, and it allows at least 1 glass of wine, but they say that alcohol isn't that great for your brain. So my clients, I say, well, can you do every other day a glass of wine instead of every day? So that seems to satisfy them, that they don't have to eliminate something that gives them pleasure. And that's important also.
Yes, especially for your brain.
For your brain. Yeah. And some of it is good for your body. You don't want to start drinking if you've never drank before. So don't add it to your daily routine. So diet is really important. And the second thing, you probably, or maybe it's really the first thing, is exercise, moving. And a lot of people over the age of 65 aren't moving. Like, I'm ready to take a walk as soon as we finish talking today, because I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to do what I preach. But if you're not up for an hour walk, take 10 minutes twice a day, 2 10-minute walks. And within a few weeks, you're going to want to walk farther. Find a friend. When you start talking with somebody when you're walking, you forget how long you've been walking. So exercise is really important. And if you, when you are doing exercises and can incorporate some balance and weight training, even if it's a couple cans of soup that you're pumping, especially us women with upper body strength. So incorporate that into your exercise routine. And then social engagement. Be involved, be out there, be talking, that no day goes that you don't talk to another human being. You don't isolate yourself unless you're going on a retreat in Tibet in the mountains, or maybe a day of silence is okay. If you've planned it, if it's a meditative, healthy reason that you're going to do that. So again, socialization. Those people who don't socialize, it's like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. It reduces your lifespan by like 5 years if you're not socializing. However, then we're talking about the healthy brain. It's keeping your brain healthy. You're trying to learn something new always. Watch a program on PBS and then read a book on whatever you just watched. Stimulate that, and a book club, and whatever you can do to stimulate those neurons in your brain, because we'll talk about that when we talk about healthy brains. But so socialization is extremely important, and I think volunteering also adds to your length of life. And I've had clients that they really can't go out and paint or build things, but they could work in a thrift shop for 2 days a week, or just tagging things, or sitting behind the counter. There's so many opportunities. Join a Rotary Club. There's just a lot of opportunities for volunteerism. And then our next 2 things are most recently been uncovered as important for brain health and these people with MCI is sleep. You need 7 hours a night of sleep. It's okay if you have to get up one time to use the bathroom or even 2 times, as long as you're getting those 7 hours. Because in sleep, that's what we take the information of the day and we transfer it into longer term memory. So we need that REM sleep, at least 2 or 3, cycles of that during a night. So sleep is really important. And anyway, I'm not going to go into that. That could be another subject that I talk about. And the other one is something I am so glad the American Medical Association came up with a study about. It's probably about 2 years now, that your thoughts about aging affect your brain, and especially those with MCI or those that have a genetic predisposition. They know that the possibility of Alzheimer's is strong because of their genetic blueprint.
Right.
If your thoughts about aging are positive, if you look forward to aging as a time to explore and learn and spend more time with friends and family, paint, whatever your craft is, they believe that just your attitude towards aging could actually stave off or reduce dementia.
Wow.
And that's what their studies were showing. Even those that had the genetic blueprint for Alzheimer's disease, that had a positive outlook, were not converting to dementia. If your negative outlook was, oh yeah, I'm going to be in a wheelchair and I'm going to be, set. There's nothing to do once I get X number of years old. And you just don't think of it as a positive time in life, it's going to affect your entire health negatively, especially your brain. So those, and I talked about socialization and hinted on mindfulness. Mindfulness is also at the ends of our little neurons. We have telomeres in our brain, and we damage those with stress. And in a study by Dr. Blackburn at UCSF, she came and she actually got a Nobel Prize for her work on this, that the diet that I talked about, the exercise that I talked about, the socialization is so important, and then mindfulness was really important at repairing those telomeres. Our brains are, they can be improved. We can make them better. But taking some time every day to do some meditation, to walk in nature, to just have some quiet time. And it doesn't, again, have to be the whole day. You don't want to isolate yourself unless you're doing it for a reason, like this is a mindfulness, I'm going on a
mindfulness retreat or something.
Retreat, a yoga retreat. And I tried a silent retreat once. Didn't work. I needed to talk. But I tried. I was almost successful. That was a long time ago. Maybe I could be more successful
probably
now. Older.
Yes.
Yeah.
More control. Yeah.
So those are the important things that when I teach a 3-week class every couple of times a year for couples, and we talk about that, and that gives the person with MCI some hope, and the partner or the family member some hope that we could turn this around. We don't necessarily have to go down that Alzheimer path. We have some control over that. I think sometimes we feel helpless when we get these kinds of diagnoses. And we stay in that diagnosis, and you can't go to a place that's beautiful. Behind me on my screen is Mount Lassen. And you want to go to places that give your life meaning and purpose and add joy. And you can't do that if every day has thoughts about, oh, what if, and everything's going to be terrible. You have to enjoy the day. And that's really important work that I do with this class. And the other thing that's important, and this is probably important to all of us that are in any kind of relationship or even living alone, is who's going to make decisions for you? And if you have legal documents and you're the decision maker for each other and you don't have another person named, what happens? Because your spouse or your family member has this diagnosis. What if they can't make decisions for you? So this is also the time to go see, you should probably revisit your legal documents at least every
Right.
5 years. But you want
Yeah,
to
we
make
need to
sure
do
that
that.
they're appropriate, and you have, I know my attorney has 5 people listed. He made me dig up 5 people that can make decisions for me. So if this person's not available
Yeah,
or alive, you go to this person and
right.
this person and this person. So, but many, and I would say most of the couples and individuals that I've worked with have only named one person.
Ah.
So important, really important legal
Mm-hmm.
documents. And same thing with trust. You need to work
Yes.
with your attorney and say, this is the diagnosis. What should we do? Or how should we amend it? Not, and it doesn't matter if you go down that slippery slope or not, you're still getting yourself a good roadmap for the longer
Uh-huh.
life, right?
Right.
When you
Mm-hmm.
address that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the other thing. And then in couple relationships and marriages or partnerships,
Mm-hmm.
um, we have roles, and one person pays all the household bills, and maybe the other person does the taxes, and maybe one person knows how to run the sprinkler system and the other person doesn't. That was my situation. Um, and so we need to share
Mm-hmm.
how to do those things,
Mm-hmm.
and to sit down at the computer and say, this is how you pay bills online at Wells Fargo. It's really simple, simple to me because I did it all the time. Might not be as simple to you when you first try to do it, but here are the passwords.
Mm-hmm.
Here's how to do it. We both have access to this, and maybe we have a third party that also has access to those things.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the kind of the basics. And if the person with MCI is actually starting to change, and you've changed all those lifestyle behaviors and you're on a healthy path, but you still see that they're losing their ability to make good decisions and they're a target for scammers.
Mm-hmm.
So again, if that is the situation in your family or your relationship, you're going
Mm-hmm.
to want to make sure that the person that is slipping down that slide doesn't have access to those numbers and accounts. That
Yeah.
maybe that's the time that you hide those kinds of things so they
Uh-huh.
can't be given
Mm.
away freely.
Mm-hmm.
But surprisingly enough, with our strange brains that we all have, I still remember the locker number from high school. So, excuse me, somebody could scam me and get into a locker at Balboa High School in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
Um, if they still have lockers, I guess they do.
Well, I
But
don't know about that. They probably do, actually.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
things work, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And so so some people have really good memories for certain things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So scamming is definitely something that we have to protect against. But then there's access to things like utilities.
Mm.
You have to make sure now, like both parties are healthy, that you could, either one of you can stop a service or get
Mm-hmm.
information on your accounts.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll want to check with your cable company, your
That's a
phone
good
company,
thought. Yeah.
the PG&E or electric, or you
Uh-huh.
know, propane
Right.
company, whatever it is that
Uh-huh.
you have in your household. And then the other thing too is maintenance people
Mm-hmm.
who who is contracting for somebody to repair something for you. And usually the party that does that doesn't, the refrigerator is going to be repaired or the water heater is going to be replaced. But besides you doing detective work, you don't know who that was. So you want to keep a list of those kinds of people
Yeah.
to
Oh, that's a good
contact.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to do. And once all that kind of stuff is done, it frees that couple or that individual who is, say, the primary caregiver, to have joy, to plan some
Mm.
trips,
Mm.
to do things, to
Yeah.
have fun. and not constantly be worried about the what ifs.
Oh, yes.
So that was a lot in one sentence. That was like a run-on sentence. So sorry about that.
No, it was great. It was great. So much good information.
There's a
And,
lot.
that's why I record these things.
Good thing.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you have a great mind and a wonderful memory, you still can't remember everything. It's not the way the world works. It's not the way a brain works.
And
It
the
picks and chooses what it wants to remember.
It does.
Yeah.
And the older we are, the more we have put in there, right? So
Yes.
retrieval takes longer. That's why,
Yeah.
that word or that place comes to you in the
Yeah.
middle of the night because you've had to go through all those little files in your brain to bring it up. Uh,
Yeah.
but one of the things, Susan, that I didn't talk about is
Mhm.
this is for healthy couples and individuals that don't have um, a problem or a diagnosis with MCI.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
I write a newspaper in our little local community, and I wrote an article. Do you know what your husband or wife wants? And it's like, so one of my friends saw me at a social event, retired attorney, mind you, and he said,
Mhm.
you know what? I've never asked her. And you talk about the end of life stuff, but you know, how about things like, well, if you had dementia, would you like to be in a memory care or you want to stay at home? Yeah, I mean, we don't ask those questions. Or, you know, there's an advanced healthcare directive
Mhm.
um,
Yep.
written by the regents of the University of California called prepareformycare.org, prepareformycare.org.
Mhm.
And it's in big font in color, and it has clip art in it. And it's a great way to talk about things
Mhm.
because sometimes we have health events that aren't the end of our life, but we need somebody else to take
Yes.
control. So
Mhm.
have we shared with that other person what we want and don't want?
Yeah.
So it's a good guide, a talking guide, even if you don't need to have the legal
Uh-huh.
paperwork done.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to share with people. I've told my kids if I ever get dementia, this is what I want. This is where I would like to be, my own home, of course. And you just build a really high fence that I can't climb over. However, I can't climb over the fences out there now, so you don't have to
Right. You don't need to
remodel that
get new
fence.
ones. Yeah, right.
And I want pets and I want trees in
Uh,
my environment. And,
uh-huh.
I recently worked with a couple and they're thinking about moving to a continuing care facility. Those
Mhm.
are 3 levels or sometimes 4 levels of care.
Mhm.
They have no children and they're in
Mhm.
a place where as their needs change, they could
Right.
stay.
Yeah.
And the gentleman, when he was talking to me, he said, I want to be someplace where I can get on my bike, and he's a biker, and take off and get into some mountains or something. And his
Ah.
wife had never heard that before.
Wow.
So,
Interesting.
so
Yeah.
sometimes we haven't shared things that are
Mhm.
important to us
Yeah,
with that
that's
other
true.
person.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, huh?
Yeah, it is interesting, and life
Yeah.
gets more interesting as we get older.
This is very true. This is very true.
Yeah, I just had a
Yeah.
friend of mine have a bike accident, and her whole world's ending right now for 12 weeks, right? And she
Yeah.
repairs, hopefully repairs, but after you're 70, you don't repair like you did when you were 40.
Even after 60.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Takes longer.
Oh yeah, it takes longer and sometimes you don't end up back where you started,
No.
right? I mean, I fell and broke my collarbone. This was about what 2019, I think. And if I just sit here and don't think about it, this shoulder is always lower than the other one just because of how it healed and and
Yeah.
one of those things that you can't. And I was supposed to go get um therapy, right? Physical therapy. at a certain point, which was also when everything closed down for COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So I never got any therapy.
And
So you
that
just never
reminds me,
know.
people
Yeah.
with dementias or even early dementias during COVID
Mm.
really suffered a lot.
Oh, I bet. Oh, I bet.
It was a terrible time, and we didn't know how to deal with, people in assisted living, and they isolated them in their rooms, and that is not why people
Oh, I
move there.
know. Oh my God, yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
not
at
a,
that point, they'd rather have COVID, I think, than
I
be
think,
isolated.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I was able to get in because I'm a licensed therapist, and the families couldn't get in, but I went in to see my clients. Yeah.
Wow.
But
Wow.
once a week isn't like 3 times a day having lunch with your friends,
Yeah.
and dinner
Oh,
and
yeah.
breakfast. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it's, it was such a huge thing for just, excuse the use of the word, but normal people just trying to live their lives, right? I mean, even some 30-year-olds got isolated,
And the
had issues.
teenagers and
Yeah,
college kids. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's I think everyone is at some level is still dealing with the aftermath of that.
Hmm. Yeah, we
You
are.
know?
And
Yeah.
thank goodness I sold my business the year before it started.
Yes.
Like 6 months,
Yes.
no, 7 months before it started.
Oh my God. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Good timing.
Great timing. And I'm glad I get to still kind of do the work
Yeah.
of what my business was about. I take about 2 clients a week, and I
Uh-huh.
do a couple of support groups, and I teach a couple of classes, and that's it.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
but that's great. You keep your hand in and keeps your brain going.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Well, that's why, it's funny because I started the podcast before COVID
Uh-huh.
and there weren't many podcasts out there. And then all of a sudden it's like everybody's got a podcast.
Yeah. Somebody asked me to do that. I said, no, thank you. I'll be a guest. I do one Zoom class a month. Actually, it's
Uh-huh.
tomorrow, and it's usually related to dementia, but sometimes I slip in something about sleep or, other things that are
Yeah.
problematic for our age group.
Yes.
But, I do that one, and it's a lot of people have to register, then I have to send them the links,
Uh-huh.
and yeah, so it's a lot of work actually.
Well,
So
but it's good for your brain.
it's good for your brain, yeah. And if that's the only thing you're doing, good. But I do these,
You
support
have a
groups, and
few other things going
yeah,
on.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yes, exactly.
I get called to
Exactly.
do I do
So,
some Rotary talks as well.
yeah, yeah. Well, and the other thing too, I realize you're not a lawyer, but at some point, probably be good to have you come back as well, just to help with all of the paperwork kind of stuff that people need to do and get, you know, just get in their vision.
Yeah, the last couple I helped with their roadmap, I actually sent them verbatim from
Hmm.
my advanced healthcare directive that's
Hmm.
customized. It's got the UC Berkeley one, the UC Regents one, a
Okay.
little bit in it, and then my attorney had to write his own. But
Uh-huh.
because I was so specific being a geriatric care manager, if I'm in a home memory care, I want A, B, and C to happen,
Right.
and I
Right.
have to see a tree in my environment out of every window.
Mhm. I love it. I love it. That's great.
And
That's
I
great.
also have to be dead for 3 days before you can cremate me.
Okay.
I want to make sure the spirit gets out.
Ah, okay. I didn't know about that. I'll have to include that in mine now.
I I have no idea. That's just a little thing that I came up with, and
Uh-huh.
my attorney and my husband at the time both looked at me like I was crazy. And I said, well, I teach people how to design these documents. So I wanted to have something quirky in mind. And that's my quirky thing. But that's just telling you all, you could have it the way you want if you put it in writing. If you don't put it in writing and you don't tell somebody what you want or don't want, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Funny how that works, huh?
Yeah. It is funny how that works. We expect people to read our minds.
We
No.
do, we do. I don't know, is that something having to do with being human or something?
I
That
guess.
we,
And
especially
it's
somebody that we live with, right?
yeah, yeah. I I have seen adult children make a lot of mistakes with their parents when they choose assisted living or a place for
Mm,
them to live,
mm,
and
mm,
they choose pretty and what is attracted to them, right?
mm-hmm.
And I remember one lady, she was an Italian lady, and I grew up in San Francisco in an Italian neighborhood, so I know the older Italian ladies. And she says, "Why am I living in this cruise ship?" And actually, what we had to do is find something that was a little bit more plainer and simpler and had red and white checkered tablecloths.
I love it. I love it. That's great. Yeah,
So, we make decisions for other people based often on our own values and not theirs. So,
yeah, yeah. I think the thing to remember from that is that you need to ask and not tell.
mhm. Yeah. And Mm. However, when you get dementia,
Uh-huh.
Susan, you don't ask. You're thinking about
Right.
what they liked, right?
Yeah.
Mom always liked spaghetti, but you can't put too much on her plate because now she's overwhelmed by choices. So it's just the spaghetti, no vegetables, no meatballs, just the spaghetti, right?
Uh-huh.
And then later you bring her another plate with a meatball that you already cut up in the kitchen
Yeah,
because you
yeah.
know she would if she tried to cut it up, it'd end up across the kitchen. Um, so you do that to respect their dignity. You
Mm-hmm.
don't ask them questions. You just
Yes.
have to base it on their values.
Got it.
Yeah. So there's a
Got it.
lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot to learn actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Does your book cover that, or are you writing a new
I
book?
do. I in this book,
Yeah.
yeah, I can see it kind of that way.
Yeah.
In this book, I have my do's and don'ts on communicating with somebody with a dementia and lots of other things.
Oh,
Practical.
good. No, I think
It's
that's great.
practical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So say the name of it again for
It's
everybody since we're at the
the
end.
empowered caregiver,
Okay.
practical advice and emotional support for adult children of aging parents. But however, since many of the people that attend my classes are the aging parent, I
Yeah.
have them write it, underline what's important to them, and then give it to your children
Even better. Or spouse.
or spouse. And
Don't forget that these days.
when my husband died, he died suddenly. My
Mm,
kids were all saying what I should do. Mom should do this, and the other one of the kids said, "Read page 7 of Mom's book. It's no shoulds." The other thing you say
thank
is,
you.
I'm concerned about, not
Hmm.
you should.
Hmm. Or what do
Yeah.
you think about?
And what do you think about? Yeah. Have you thought about?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But the
Exactly.
word should
Yeah.
is,
Yeah. Well, that's kind of for everybody. I mean, that it doesn't matter what your age is or what you're talking about or anything else. Human nature is if somebody tells you you should do something, your first thought is, no, no, not doing anything somebody tells me I should do.
Mhm. I know, isn't that funny? We're so resistant to
Yes, yes, absolutely. Well, that's probably why we're all still alive.
maybe.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
So, anyways, okay, we will wrap up here,
Okay.
and I will also put your book in the show notes, and and I will have you back on the show again as
Sure.
well.
Was fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Thanks for having me.
oh, thank you. And I will end this as I end all of my podcasts, which is that neither of us are doctors, and this is not to be seen as medical advice. And if you are having problems with any of these things, please go and talk to a professional, be it a doctor or whatever, or to Linda, because she's a professional, but just in this part.
Right. No, and even with the simple thing like changing your diet, you
Yeah.
want to
Oh, yeah.
run it by your doctor before you do it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's right. That's right. So thank you again, and I will see everybody else next week.
Hey.